everybody. Welcome to the Energy News Beat Daily Stand-Up. My name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group. And today is April 5th, and Michael's on assignment. So we're going to get started right away. We're going off over here to first story coming around the block. California lawmakers stand up for big oil by passing a bill that allows fines for price gouging at the pump. Sounds good. There's some underlying things in there. Next one, David Blackman, one of our podcast hosts for Three Podcasters Walk Into a Bar, as well as the Energy Question. David Blackman writes, Saudi Arabia could cash in on Democrats' climate cash. He's got some fantastic points in here. Next one is coming around the corner. The energy transition is a delusion indeed. There is a lot to this in this article, and it is really causing some problems in Washington as well as everything else. So let's take a look at the next one. India eyes major expansion of nuclear power. That's pretty important. And then BRICS alliance working to create its own currency, says a Russian official. Yesterday's podcast, we had some more information on Mexico being potentially brought into the BRICS. So lots of things going on there. Let's start with a California story. California lawmakers stand up to big oil by passing a bill that allows fines for price gouging at the pump. There's some critical points in here. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom used his political muscle to pass the bill, which grew out of his call last December for special legislative session to pass a new tax on oil company profits after the average price in California hit a record high of $6.44 per gallon. Taking on the oil industry has been a major priority for Newsom, who's widely viewed as a future presidential candidate. When you take on big oil, they usually roll you. That's exactly what we've been doing to customers for years and years, Newsom told reporters after the vote. The legislature had the courage and the conviction and the backbone to stand up to big oil. Here's where this legislation comes in. It is going after the profits, not through a profits tax, but rather being able to phrase it as a price gouging. So it is not a tax, but it is a referendum against price gouging. Here's the problem. There is no price gouging from the oil company's perspective. And I would invite anyone to come onto the show and explain it any way differently than that. You have the oil companies at the pump. Those individual owners are paying, they are making very little on a gallon of gas. It is not them. So when they sit back and say it's going to be profits, another quote in the article is, we're not like Texas. We're not like Louisiana. We're not like the Northeast, Garcia says. We do not have fungible fuel supply, and we've chosen to do with that. We've set ourselves up by 30 years of public policy. This sends a clear message: don't invest in California. They have the third largest gasoline market, but yet, like Mike Umbro out in California has been saying, they're killing the oil and gas market, but yet they're importing it in from everywhere else. Bad management, bad numbers, and the consumers are going to end up paying for this. So let's go to the next story. David Blackman, Saudi Arabia could cash in on Democrats' climate cash. Okay, this article is interesting on the energy transition process. Hydrogen has again become a trendy topic of conversation in the energy space as fuel with high potential both in the transportation and power generation sectors. Here's a couple things. Saudi Arabia last year really set themselves up to be a world leader in hydrogen production. With that hydrogen production, they are taking the entire to the next level. They want to be exporting it and really being a world supplier for this. However, in California, the city is it's widely seen, but seeing an impossible goal, and now we're on the precipice of seeing it there. Los Angeles City Council voted early February to approve $800 million dollar proposal to convert one of the city's largest natural gas power plant to green hydrogen, to great fanfare from the local press. Here's the problem. That's where Craig Orion was saying that it's widely seen as impossible goal. They're going to be importing this from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is going to be making money hand over fist on this again. Why don't we make the hydrogen in the US rather than importing it from Saudi Arabia? So the legislation through the Infrastructure Reduction Act or the other bills are going to go to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has already been funding all of this by their oil profits, but yet California is going to be funding Saudi Arabia. Just doesn't make much sense. Go ahead and check out on energynewsbeat.com the total article there. India eyes is the next, coming around the corner is the next story. India eyes major expansion of nuclear power. For the energy transition to happen to carbon neutral, we've got to have nuclear. We just cannot even think about getting there without natural gas and without nuclear. Wind, solar, yay, those are great, but we have to have the others to even get there. In fact, Greta Thunberg, who's the climate activist, has just come out in favor of nuclear. That story was ran yesterday. But in India, I did not know this before reading this article. The U.S. and India in 2019 signed a deal in which the U.S. pledged to support construction of at least 6 nuclear plants in India. Wow. That's really, really cool. However, the additional reactors are coming from Russia, Canada, and France. So we really need to start working on the ability for us to export our nuclear technology around the world and really help out on that process. The really speeding up of the fast additions needs to require changes to the India's historical construction timelines for new reactors. Very much like the US, there's permitting, there's things that the actual construction does not take that long. Permitting is horrible. 14 years in India. So we've got to get that speeded up in the US as well as India in order to help make the climate goals. Last story coming around the corner here is BRICS alliance working to create its own currency, says a Russian official. With all the stories that I've read on BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, China, India, and South Africa, when you take a look at creating your own currency is going to be a total elimination of any ability for the United States to impose sanctions on anyone in the world. The Russian law, according to the Russian reports, the Russian lawmaker Alexander Babkov, the BRICS nations are now in the process of creating new medium for payments, established in a strategy that does not defend the dollar or the euro. The currency would be secured by gold and other commodities such as rare earth elements. So they're moving to almost a gold standard, but they're including also other rare earth minerals to support that standard. I have to applaud them. Moving away from the SWIFT banking system, Russia, Iran for years has had to get around U.S. sanctions. U.S. sanctions are now no longer even relative. Anyway, so with that, let's go ahead and let you get back to work. It's been great talking to you. Reach out to me, energynewsbeat.com. Fill out the form. We want to hear from you. And thank you for all of our great listeners. Our shows are just going through the roof. Thank you, and we talk to you soon.